Today, we are diving deep into something we all think we know, our feelings. But here's a wild thought. What if our emotions are a language we have to be taught, letter by letter, right from the moment we're born? Just listen to that. That's what a patient once told her therapist. It's terrifying, right? So confusing and powerful, but what does it actually mean? What is this lion, and where does this kind of destructive feeling come from? To figure that out, we have to go way back, to the very beginning. So, to understand where a lion in the chest comes from, we have to explore how we first learned to feel anything at all. Because here's the big secret. We aren't born with an emotional vocabulary. It has to be taught to us. In the classroom where we learn this language, it's all about attachment. That deep, fundamental bond we form with our primary caregiver. That relationship is what builds the entire foundation for how we handle our emotions for the rest of our lives. It all happens in this amazing three-step dance. First, you have resonance. The parent feels with the child. They mirror that distress with empathy. Then comes marking. The parent shows, through their expression or a soft tone, hey, this is your feeling, not mine. I'm okay, so you'll be okay. And finally, the most important part, symbolizing. They give that raw physical feeling a name. They turn a baby scream into, oh, you're so sad right now. And you can see exactly how this plays out in real life. Think about a kid getting a shot. In a helpful response, the parent mirrors the ouchie, says, oh, that hurt, didn't it? And then immediately soothes them. The lesson that kid learns is huge. My pain is real, it's understandable, and I can handle it. But in an unhelpful response, the parent freaks out, getting even more upset than the child. The lesson there? My pain is terrifying. It makes the people I depend on fall apart. So that's the relational side of things, how our interactions shape us. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. What's actually happening inside our brains during all of this? How does our internal world get built brick by brick? So what happens when that caregiver can't be that calm, empathetic mirror? What if a child's pain is met with anger, or neglect, or just more chaos? Well, this is what happens. You get a broken bridge. On one side, you have this raw, intense physical sensation. On the other side, you have a meaningful word for it. But the connection, the bridge that's supposed to link the two, it's just not there. The person is left stranded with a feeling that has no name. Here's how the brain's emotional supply chain is supposed to work. First, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, detects something. Then your insula maps that onto your body. That's the racing heart, the tight chest. But then there's the crucial final step. Your cortex is supposed to look at all that data and give it a label, to categorize it as anger or sadness. And here's the kicker. That final step, the labeling, depends entirely on what we learned as kids. Now, for the patient with that lion in her chest, step 3 just never happens. She's completely stuck in step 2, trapped in that overwhelming, raw physical sensation with no word for it, no understanding of it, and absolutely no idea how to manage it. And when that bridge is broken, the consequences are devastating. Those physical feelings become so overwhelming, they're terrifying, precisely because they're unnamed. This can lead to desperate acts, like self-harm, just to make the unbearable physical pain stop. It also leads to this really strange state called pretend mode. This is where someone can actually talk about emotions perfectly. They've seen them in movies, read about them in books, but they can't connect any of those ideas to what's actually happening inside their own body. So how in the world do you fix a bridge that was never built to begin with? Well, let's get back to our patient and see how therapy actually starts that construction project, piece by piece. It's actually beautifully simple. The therapist's job is to become the caregiver the patient never truly had. They go right back to basics, creating a safe space to finally practice those 3 crucial steps we talked about: resonance, marking, and symbolizing. The therapist becomes the mirror. And right here, this is the breakthrough. With the therapist's help, that bridge finally starts to get built. That terrifying physical sensation, the lion tearing my chest, finally gets connected to actual words: anger, hatred, revenge. That heavy stone she would feel on her chest gets a name: deep sadness. For the first time ever, the feelings have meaning. And the transformation that follows is just incredible. Before, that unnamed lion just led to this desperate urge for the pain to end, even if it meant not being alive. But after therapy, once she could finally say new ways to cope, she could scream along to loud rock music, or channel all that intensity into painting with stark black and red colors. And this is the whole point. The simple act of naming an emotion is what makes it manageable. You cannot regulate something you can't even recognize. Giving it a label is the first and most powerful step toward getting control. Now, this is way more than just a fascinating story about one patient. This whole idea is absolutely fundamental to how every single one of us navigates our daily lives, our relationships, and our own inner world. It all comes down to this idea, mentalization. It's really about seeing ourselves from the outside and seeing others from the inside. It's that incredible human ability to pause between a feeling and an action and to understand the mind behind the behavior, not just in others, but in ourselves too. Honestly, when you get good at mentalizing, it's like having an emotional superpower. It's the difference between just snapping at someone out of frustration and being able to step back and say, whoa, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. It lets you see a coworker's nasty email not just as an attack, but as a clue that maybe they're under a ton of pressure. It literally turns chaotic reactions into thoughtful responses. When you pull it all together, this whole journey reveals a really profound truth. Our sense of self, who we are deep down, isn't something we build in a vacuum. It's constructed in the space between us and other people, through the reflections we see in the eyes of those who care for us. So I want to leave you with a question to think about. Consider the language of your own emotions, the lions, the stones, the storms inside of you. What story are they telling? And who was it that first taught you how to read it?